Hi, in this video we're going to look at solving quadratic equations, which is a higher GCSE topic. As part of the video we are going to look at factorising quadratic equations, and we're going to do that in a number of different ways. We're going to do it by inspection and by completing the square, and part of being able to solve quadratic equations is using the factorisation method. A third way that we're going to look at is using the quadratic formula. Now, I'm hoping that you can already factorise quadratics, either by inspection or by completing the square. If not, then go back and revise those sections before you start watching this video, because we're going to use those skills in order to be able to solve quadratics. Okay, before we start then, we'll have a look to see what a quadratic equation is. Now, you'll notice that I've drawn a small picture here which shows this nice quadratic curve. You'll notice that it's really smooth, comes down and back up. Your teacher might have talked about these in terms of a smiley face and a grumpy face. This is obviously a smiley face, and we know that it's a smiley face because it's a positive x squared. We can also see from the graph that it cuts the x-axis at two places. It cuts the x-axis here at -4 and here at -6, and it also has a minimum point down here at what looks to be -1, -5. Now, we can use different skills that you've probably already got to be able to sketch out these graphs, and one of the things I want to do in the video is to encourage you to be both solving the quadratic equations and sketching them out. You'll notice that the quadratic equation I've drawn here says that we want to solve x squared plus 10x plus 24 equals 0. Now, that equals 0 part is really important. What that means is when the curve cuts the x-axis. Now, the x-axis, you know, goes along here. The x-axis is also known as y equals 0. So what we're trying to find out here is when y equals 0, or what values of x give us an answer of 0 coming out. And you can see here that actually there are two values that give an answer of 0. Okay, let's have a go at actually solving this then. We can solve this using a method called inspection. We look at the values, and in particular the values we're looking at here are positive 24 and positive 10, and we're thinking what two values multiply together to give us 24 and add together to give us positive 10. We write those in our brackets, so we get x plus 4 and x plus 6, and again I'm writing down equals 0 because we're not just factorising, we're not just going through the process of factorising, but we're actually solving an equation. So we're solving, make sure you keep the zeros on at the end. Now, what this tells us is we could have either of these brackets, something here could be 0 because 0 multiplied by something else is 0, or this bracket could be 0. That means that something multiplied by 0 could be 0. Now, in order to make this first bracket 0, x would have to be -4. In order to make the second bracket 0, x would have to be -6. We've actually got two solutions for when x equals 0, and that matches up perfectly to my graph. X is -4, x is -6. Okay, now there's one other thing that I could point out about the equation, x squared plus 10x plus 24. We can't quite see it on the graph, but this positive 24 at the end is where it intersects the y-axis. This graph would keep going on up here, and it'd actually cross the y-axis at 24. Okay, so this would carry on coming down and cross at 24. We can't see it on this picture, but trust me, it would. At the next example then. This time I want to have a go at this again by inspection, and we're going to have a quick sketch of what it looks like. Feel free to pause the video now and have a go by yourself. Otherwise, if you want to wait and watch, I'll show you what to do. So this time we're going to have our brackets again. We're going to make it equal to 0. So I'm thinking of numbers that multiply together to give me -12, add together to give me -1. So I'm thinking 3 and 4. So I'm going to put x and an x. I'm having a 3 and a 4. They've got a difference of 1. Let's just double check I get this right way around. So I need to have negative 4 plus 3. That works. Negative 4, add 3 is minus 1, and multiply those together, I get minus 12. Good. Okay, let's have a little think about sketching what this is going to look like then. Here are my axes. When I'm sketching, I don't need to worry too much about detail of accuracy, as long as I get all the important parts on there. Okay, let's see what else we can do then. Well, I know it crosses at... Well, we've not quite solved it yet, have we? Let's carry on then. Let's say that x equals minus 3 and x equals 4. Okay, and I've got that because it's the opposite signs here. I need to make one of these brackets equal to 0. Okay, I can do that. So that means it's going to cross at minus 3 and positive 4. I also know from here that it also crosses at minus 12, which I'm going to say is somewhere down here. So my graph is going to look something like this, where minus 12 is down the bottom, down here, just mark it on, minus 12, 3, 4, it's the right shape, it's good enough, we've got a rough idea about what this looks like. If I want to, I can label my x and y axes. Okay, so sketching and solving, factorising is the first step. Once I've factorised, I then need to think about what each bracket could be to make the bracket equal to 0, so that I've got nothing here or nothing here, and I can do that simply on here by changing the signs. Okay. Next example then, we're going to have a go at solving and sketching by completing the square, and again I'm not going to show you how to do it in this tutorial. If you want to see that, have a look at other tutorials on completing the square. I'm just going to show you how you use that method in order to be able to solve an equation. So hopefully you remember that what you need to do is half the x coefficient. So in this point we've got x plus 3, half of 6 is 3, squared. What I need to do is take my 3, square it, which would be 9. I don't want 9, so I'm going to take 9 away. What I did want was positive 8, so let's add 8 on. And remember this equals to 0. Tidy this up, I've got x plus 3 squared. Minus 9 plus 8 is minus 1, equals 0. Now, in order to solve this, I've now got an equation. Let's tidy it up. So I'm going to do it step by step. X plus 3 squared equals 1. What I've done is I've added 1 to both sides. Next, I need to square root both sides. So x plus 3 equals, what have I got? Well, if I square root something, I could have a positive root or the negative root. So plus or minus root 1. Okay, and then I need to take 3 away. So x equals, well, I've got positive 1 minus 3, and I've also got negative 1 minus 3 as my two solutions. So here I've got x is equal to 2, x equals 2, and I've also got x equals minus 4. I've got two different answers. Now I've gone ahead and completed the square on this one to show you the process, but if we look at it, we might have been able to do this one by inspection anyway. Let's have a little think if that makes sense. Oh, I've made a mistake just down the bottom. Plus 1 minus 3 is obviously minus 2. Okay, let me just rub that out. Well done if you spotted that before me. Okay, so it was minus 2. So let's just think about if we could have done this just by inspection. X squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Two sets of brackets. X, and I could have had, well, two numbers that multiply together to give me 8 and add together to give me 6. X plus 2, x plus 4. That means that x would have given me two solutions, minus 2 and minus 4. And again, if I want to do a quick sketch of what this might look like, I know it's going to cross the x-axis at minus 2 and at minus 4, and it's going to cross the y-axis at positive 8, so it's going to look something like this. Now, it would be really nice to know what the point is down here, so that I can make sure that I'm doing this really accurately. And actually completing the square helps me to do that. I can actually do it really quickly. Notice when I add it in completed the square form here. when something's in complete to the square form, it actually tells us what the minimum value is. And this minimum value here, the point there, would have been at minus 3, minus 1. And I can tell that from the following places. The minus 1 is the same as the minus 1 here. The minus 3 here is this value, but the sign's been changed, just like we were doing before when we were changing the signs here and here. Okay, so again we can use complete to the square to solve equations, and it also helps us sketch. It helps us find the minimum point. Okay, let's have one more go. This time we're going to use the quadratic formula. Again, the quadratic formula at GCSE is given to you at the moment, so you simply have to put numbers in, turn the handle of the formula and see what numbers come out. This time we're not factorising. These won't necessarily give you factors unless you turn it into a factorised form. These will actually tell you the solutions to the quadratic equation. Okay, so don't get confused by that. Also, something else to point out here, you've got minus signs. Quite often, I know when I've been doing this with people in my classes, they are saying, "Sir, I've got a maths error," and that's because when you type in information in a calculator, you will have made a mistake with the minus sign somewhere, more than likely with this part. B squared minus 4ac has got to be positive for you to be able to square root it. If it's not positive, one of two things has happened. Either the thing you're trying to solve doesn't have any solutions, we say it has no real solutions, or you've made a mistake. It's more likely at GCSE that you've made a mistake. Okay, let's have a little look then. First thing I always do is write down what A, B and C are. In this case, I've got 1x squared, so A is 1. I've got 7x's, so B is 7, and C is minus 1. Okay, so be really careful there. I'm then going to put the numbers into my formula. So I've got minus 7 plus and minus the square root of 7 squared minus 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by minus 1, all divided by 2. And again, I'm tidying up a little bit at a time. So this is x equals. So equals minus 7 plus and minus the square root of. Well, 7 squared is 49. Minus 4 times 1 times minus 1 is plus 4. All divided by 2. I've now got the following solutions. Minus 7 plus root 53 over 2, and I'm splitting it up at this point to get my other solution. I've also got minus 7 minus root 53 over 2, and again I can get answers for these on my calculator quite easily. Okay, so the answer to the first one, typing it in on my calculator, I get 0.14 to 2 decimal places, and the second one, again I'm going to type it in on my calculator, so minus 7 minus root 53 divided by 2 gives me minus 7.14. Both of these solutions are to 2 decimal places. Okay, have a little sketch of this, see what this means to you. I'm going to do it in a second, so just have a little sketch. Okay, so if I were to sketch this out, and again I'm going to do it quite roughly, let's have a little look, see what I'm going to think. Well, I know certain things. I know that it crosses at minus 1, crosses my y-axis at minus 1. I know that it crosses my x-axis at 0.14, so somewhere just here, and minus 7. So I'm going to get a graph that looks something like this. So it's going to come down and it's going to come back up like this. And again, if I wanted to, I would be able to work out this point here by completing the square. If you want to do that, feel free to. It'd be good practice. Okay, before we do anything else then, let's just kind of recap. We've got 3 different ways of being able to solve. We can do it by inspection, so factorising and then changing the signs in my bracket. I can also complete the square and continue on completing the square to solving, making sure that I remember that when I square root I get plus and minus, and I can use the quadratic formula. What I would like you to do then is have a go at solving these two equations, but I want you to have a go at doing it in two different ways. So I want you to either do it by inspection and completing the square, inspection and quadratic formula, or completing the square and quadratic formula. Pause the video, I'll show you the answers and what the graphs look like in a second. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go at both of these now. The first one you'll notice you can't do by inspection, so you're going to have to have used either the quadratic formula and completing the square. You should end up with the following two solutions, so you should get that x is equal to 1.16 and minus 5.16. And the graph of what this would look like, if you were just doing a little sketch, it's going to cross at just over 1 and just the other side of minus 5 down to minus 6, so you're going to get a graph that looks something like that. Well, it's not ideal, but something like that. And the second one, hopefully you spotted that you could do it by inspection. If you were factorising it, your brackets would look like x plus 4 and x minus 1. So x equals 1 and minus 4. And again, quick sketch of the graph shows that it would cross at 1 and minus 4 and goes down to minus 4 as well. So we can say we've got minus 4 here, 1 here, minus 4 down there, and again, nice positive quadratic graph. So if you've been following these selection of videos, you'll notice that at the end I always do a revision card session. This is a good opportunity for you to write down any notes that you want. I've put some ideas along the right hand side. One thing that I didn't mention in the video, which is worthwhile mentioning now, I've said it right at the bottom. To find solutions when a quadratic doesn't equal 0, you're going to have to rearrange it to make it equal to 0, or if it says by using your sketch. So if I just sketch something out really quickly, if you've got a quadratic that looks like this, but it's asking you to work out the solutions of, let's say that this is x squared, I don't know, minus 7, and you want it to be equal to 4, well 4 you could say is somewhere here. Okay, so what actually you're doing is finding the solutions at this point and at this point, and if it's already been drawn out or you've already had to draw it out and it says estimate what these solutions are, you can do it like this. Okay, hopefully you've found this video useful. Keep checking on the playlist and on the YouTube video channel to see for other higher GCSE videos. Good luck with your exams. Hopefully everything goes well. Leave positive comments for me, please, on any comments that you might want videos making on, and I'll endeavour to do those in due time. Thank you.